Not my words, but I quote, "A witch is a person, often female, believed to have supernatural powers, traditionally associated with evil magic, but also used to describe followers of nature-based religions like Wicca, or derogatorily for mean women, or positively for enchanting women," end quote. What in the world did I just blabber? Because none of that actually made any sense. So that was Google's overview of what a witch is. A whole lot of contradictions. Hi, I'm Natasha, and today's podcast is going to be about how I'm actually a witch and fully claiming it. We're going to dig into all of the details in this episode. If you hear a baby in the background, that's little Emerald. She's 4 months old if you're new around here. And Dave is not joining me on this podcast episode because this is just about my stuff, so he's not going to be on this one. It'll just be me and you guys today. So let's get into it. Basically, Google isn't even sure what a witch is, and that is because society has been trying to give a false narrative around this subject ever since the Middle Ages, a time when religion started becoming more about control. We will get into that in a different podcast episode. The history of witches is a whole entire subject on its own, and I would like to cover that in more detail in a separate episode in order to give it the fullness it deserves. For this one, we aren't going to get too much into religion, just a little bit, or the history. Now, first I want you to understand, when I say witch, I'm not referring to what Hollywood puts on film. I'm literally not suggesting that I walk around, wave my finger, and the house is clean. If I could do that, I'm sure all of y'all would love me, right? Because then we wouldn't have to wash dishes. Sure, I wear a witch hat, and in my cooking videos, I had a little fun with editing, but I am not walking around thinking I'm actually making things happen with the wave of a finger. I do love imagination and childlike wonder, but that does not mean I have no concept of reality. So, when I say witch, what am I actually talking about? There are just as many different definitions of a witch as there are religions out there. One person's definition can vary immensely from another person's. And speaking of religion, witchcraft in itself is not religion-based. It is a craft. It is no more part of religion than wildcrafting for herbs or playing basketball. It just simply isn't a religion on its own. The only reason religion is brought up at all when it comes to witches is because they wanted us to fear our own power, and witchcraft is about honing in on that. I'll get to that more when we talk about the history in a future episode. Religion and witchcraft do have a relationship, but that is mainly because of fear tactics and control, or because a lot of witches work with their spirit guides, different entities, and whatever their actual belief system supports. So while being a witch is not part of any religion, many people bring their religion into their craft. Since Google gave us a mind-scrambling definition of what a witch is, let's get a better understanding one. The truth is, the definition varies from source to source depending on who is saying it. There is a lot of stigma around witches, and this is not something new. This has been going on for thousands of years, going all the way back to ancient law codes. In a nutshell, the simplest definition comes from Old English roots meaning wise, or wise woman, or wise person. Essentially, the term witch just means knower, or wise one. In ancient times, witches, or wise men and women, were very respected in their community, and were often midwives, healers, and prophets. They used herbs, rituals, and natural knowledge to help others. Yes, men can be witches too. This is another thing Hollywood portrayed incorrectly. And not all rituals are evil. A ritual is merely a sequence of actions or behaviors. It was when Christianity originated that fear was spread and everything changed. Like I said, we will get into the history in a future episode. So here's my personal definition of a witch, and it does look different for pretty much everyone. It is just someone that stands in their truth, their authority, their full power, and their wholeness. It is someone that understands energy and how everything is connected and uses that knowledge to manifest things in their lives. It is someone that works with nature and the natural aspects of life for a deeper connection with the universe and with themselves. It is someone that does the inner work to heal and does their best to cause as little harm as possible. It is someone that can control their emotions. Obviously, we're human, and sometimes we lose our cool a bit. But a person that is interested in being a witch or interested in standing in their full authority will be able to rein in on their emotions and get back to a place of balance. Witches generally like balance, just like nature likes balance. It is also someone that wants to wake up humanity from the illusions that have been put on us and remove the worldly spell that has many people disconnected from their roots. It is also someone who claims the title. We can do all of those things I just mentioned above without claiming to be a witch. So in order to be a witch, one would claim the title of being one. That is my definition of a witch. So I want to talk a little bit about how I got here and why this subject is so important to me. When I was a kid, I felt so different. I felt misunderstood the majority of the time. I didn't like Barbies. I didn't want to be a princess. I wanted to climb trees, ride my bike super fast, live in my imagination, and think of fairies dancing in the woods. I had a passion for being best friends with trolls instead of a dollhouse. I had a troll house and a lot of magical trolls. I loved the idea of mermaids, dragons, and imagining that the fairy tale stories of the mythical creatures had truth. I just knew at one time unicorns walked in the forest. I've always had this thing inside of me that clung to the magical. There was something about imagination that felt powerful. While everyone around me was doing their mundane life, I was imagining a little fairy sneaking around in the kitchen looking for snacks. I always felt like there was something beyond what our eyes can see, something that just can't really be explained in this world. While most of my friends or the kids around me wanted to be a princess, I wanted to be Pocahontas. I wanted to talk to the trees, talk to nature, hear the wind, and to experience life being free. No, Pocahontas wasn't a witch, but she did have a lot of the same values that I feel go hand in hand. The love for Hollywood witches came from The Wizard of Oz, drastically different from what a real witch is. What intrigued me was how Dorothy kind of seemed fake to me, like she wasn't her true self, I don't think. I didn't really connect with her character very much, but the Wicked Witch of the West, she grabbed my attention. She seemed like she was misunderstood. She seemed like she wanted to speak her truth but never had a chance. I instantly connected with her character, and my passion for witches only grew from there. As a teenager, I loved watching Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Bewitched. Nearly every year for Halloween, I dressed up as a witch. I loved the outfit and the hat, which is why now as an adult, I hand sew witch hats and wear them in my videos. Like I said, those are Hollywood's versions of witches and obviously vastly different from a real living witch. I do like the aesthetic Hollywood gave them because it is fun. Now, let's fast forward from childhood into adulthood. I went through a good bit of trauma from various events in my life scattered across all different ages. There was one large event that happened, and I'm not going to get into that at the moment, but it changed my life forever. It was the bookmark to the worst thing that I have ever experienced in all of my life. My biggest trauma. I was so lost. I was out of control. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even trust myself. Like, I had no idea how to just get myself to just simply be okay. I was spiraling and trying to hold on to anything that would give me a sense of stability. At the time, I was working at a corporate marketing job. I had already been learning about herbs, crystals, meditation, and things like that for years, but I wasn't fully invested in being consistent with anything. One day while I was at work, I decided to look up a crystal shop. I worked in Greensboro, North Carolina at the time. My manager kept insisting that I do something fun that weekend. He knew what I was going through, and he knew I put in extreme hours in order to distract myself. That weekend, I decided to check out the crystal shop, take myself out for a little sushi lunch date on my own, and just really enjoy the day. I opened the door to that crystal shop, and instantly peace washed over me. Connection came, and I felt so grounded. I wanted to look at every single stone. I wanted to know everything about all of them. One caught my eye. It was a pendulum hanging on a velvet blackboard. I had to have it. I rarely ever treated myself to new things. And it was almost my birthday. I purchased the pendulum, a little rose quartz sphere. I also purchased a book. I don't remember which one or where it is today. Probably in a box of things I have stuffed at my mom's house. This was the beginning of a very long road of inner healing for me. The beginning of me getting some kind of control. I went home to my little shared apartment in Greensboro and energetically cleansed my pendulum. Before this, I'd already spent a lot of time listening to witchy podcasts and reading literally everything I could. So I already knew what I needed to do. Immediately, that same feeling of peace washed over me as the smoke from the incense went swirling around my beautiful rose quartz. It was dangling from a stainless steel necklace. This was the moment I knew I was going to claim being a witch. The moment I was deciding that somehow or another I was going to heal my inner wounds. I was going to fully embrace my spiritual side and focus on mental health. Yes, you can do all those things without claiming to be a witch. I want to make that very clear. This was my truth and what I needed to do for myself. It was not easy. A lot of obstacles happened and a lot of dark times were experienced. If you have ever heard of the dark night of the soul, that was exactly what I was going through. Now, a lot of people would say, well, no wonder. You were claiming to be a witch. Of course, dark things happened. No, that is not it. What it actually was is an awakening, and awakenings generally are not sunshine and rainbows. An awakening is so hard at first. It brings out every single thing you ever buried inside of yourself, and it brings it to the surface for you to look at head on. I used every single resource I could try to help me manage this experience, from dream work, meditation, journaling, working with crystals, using my pendulum, astrology, numerology. I dove into all of it 100%. With full dedication, learning everything I possibly could get my hands on about the subject. I even went to a few tarot readers. Now, before you get all in a frenzy, there is nothing evil about any of this unless one is intending for it to be evil. A lot of the issues that I had with healing is that you're given a lot of helpless advice, such as, hang in there, it'll get better. Just choose happiness, forgive and forget. It wasn't that bad, just move on. Tomorrow is another day, and on and on. Those things don't really help, though. And when you are drowning, you want a life raft. You want something you can grab, something you can hold, something you can see, something that gives you just a little control, even if it is explained away by a coincidence or a placebo. You simply just want something that feels like you are making progress towards a better version of yourself. That was exactly what all of these different modalities did for me. The way these things work is you're actually connecting with your belief system. So whether you're a Christian, whether you're Jewish or Catholic or atheist or whatever it is that you are, you're just connecting with your own belief system. None of these things necessarily make you a witch either. I know of lawyers, nurses, teachers, and even Christians and Catholics that actually do claim to be a witch. And I also know people that work with all of these methods that I mentioned above and do not claim to be witches. The main ingredient to being a witch is to simply claim it. Before we move on, I do want to say there are different types of witches and different versions of the craft. The majority of Hollywood has portrayed most of it to be something really evil. I truly believe and know there is evil and there is good. There seems to be an opposite for everything in our world, which is why there is the saying, as above, so below. People can cause harm whether they are a witch or not. People can cause harm no matter what their backgrounds are. Being a witch does not make you any more evil than anything else. Some people do practice darker things. I do not participate in that. What I do is harness the natural energy and intentions using herbs, crystals, salts, and whatever source is around me to heal and manifest a better life experience. Okay, so I plan on going into some of this stuff more in future episodes if people are actually interested in all of this. I wanted to keep this episode kind of short and simple, but I did ask people on Facebook if they had any questions, so I'm going to answer those now. So one friend asked, when did you know? So I mentioned in this episode the moment that I claimed it, but as far as inner knowing, I think it was just always with me. I always knew I had like this deeper connection to the other side and to dreams and different things like that. And I could just see things from another perspective. So in a way, I always had a knowing, but it wasn't until about 7 years ago when I fully began embracing that part of me without shutting it down. Another person said that they love all things magical and mystical, but they are a practical Capricorn and moved by science. In her mind, science always wins no matter what, no matter how magical or mysterious. Then she asked if I really believed in the ancient practice or is it just for fun? So this one actually made me laugh a little bit because my mom is a Capricorn, and so I completely see where she's coming from with this. Me and my mom have had a lot of conversations, and she always ends up being practical about it, and it's kind of hard to get her into her imagination a little bit. And a lot of this witchy stuff does require a bit of imagination, but I'd say it's practical imagination. I did a whole entire video last year where I was explaining the science behind this stuff and how energy works inside of us and with crystals and herbs and just all of the different things. So this question involves a longer answer, and I'd like to dedicate a future episode to it. That way we can really get into all of the details and how science does back it up. So stay tuned for this episode. It'll be a good one. But to answer the part about if I believe in the ancient practice or is it just for fun, for me it's both. I fully do believe that we can manipulate energy, but I also love the witchy aesthetic and the fun parts of it too. So the next series of questions came from a different friend. They wanted to know, do you come from a bloodline of witches? No. Actually, growing up, I didn't really know that this was even an option. So I just thought it was something other people didn't even feel or really believe in. I just thought it was all part of my little imaginary world. I didn't know people actually practice these things for real until I was an adult. Where did you learn what you know? So I've had a couple of little mentors, but no one that actually really taught me. Most of it came from instincts and reading everything that I could. Then they also asked, have you put a hex on someone? No. I feel that when someone wrongs me or does something I don't like, it is usually coming from their own unhealed version of themselves or their own misunderstandings. So really, ever since I got into embracing this way of life, I see things completely different than I did before. I no longer have a need for revenge or anything like that. I have boundaries, and if someone doesn't respect me, then I let them go about their life without me in it. I haven't ever felt the need to use my energy or my time to invest in hexing someone. Now, I have taken a couple of classes on darker things just so that I knew how it worked. Because when I worked at the crystal shop, we often had people that would ask how to break a hex or how to reverse things, stuff like that. So I just felt like I should know how it works. So I've studied it, but I haven't practiced those things. That is not something I'm interested in. Sorry, the baby is coughing. I like to stay more in the higher vibrational things. I don't like to get into the darker stuff so much, even though I am a Scorpio, and Scorpios generally go to the darker side. I know how it works. It's just not my cup of tea. Do you use your skills to get extra from life? So, I'm kind of a bad witch. I don't really do that too much, but I have, but not in ways that people would think. I've asked for magical moments at the beach and would find giant shells when no one else could find any, or dolphins came pretty close to me when no one else was out there, and I was able to swim pretty close with them. So little magical things like that, but they're not paying the bills. So I haven't really done it for big things. I've used what I know for smaller little things and to do a lot of inner healing. I think now that I'm at a point where I'm content in life as far as my health, my mental health and all of that goes, I'm really content, I'm safe, I'm good. So I think now I could put energy into doing bigger things. So maybe I'll start doing it in bigger ways, like making this podcast go viral and supporting our family financially. I'm still learning how to do those larger scale things though. Then this person also asked, will I be teaching the baby any of it? Absolutely. She will know about all of these things. She will learn how energy works, how to regulate her own emotions, how to use her inner power to her advantage, how to use resources like crystals, herbs, and nature to have a better life experience, how to meditate, how to be a well-rounded overall individual. And she already has a little ghost friend. So people will probably be closed-minded on this subject, but it is very clear as day. She can see something and does interact with something that we aren't seeing. I want her to be her full, whole self and to have confidence in who she is. So we will have conversations at age-appropriate stages about all of these topics, and if she wants to claim to be a witch, she perfectly can. But I also want her to be herself. So if she's not interested in something, I'm not going to force it on her. Then someone else asked, how long have you been practicing? So I would say I've been learning for about 20 years, but actually practicing closer to 9 years, but a lot of the beginning part of that, it was kind of here and there because I had to be quiet about it. And in the past 7 years, I would say I've just really been full blast into it. And then what led you to practice? So I answered that already in the episode. Then this person, they actually talked about feeling pressured or guilted into Christianity. They said that they go to church every Wednesday night and Sunday, but they feel the Bible contradicts itself and religion as a whole does too. They feel like things don't make any sense. I just wanted to say I've been there myself. I have tried so hard to put myself in that box. That way I would be like everyone else around me and I wouldn't disappoint my family. I went to church off and on throughout my life. I had private conversations with preachers and did everything I could to make myself feel it. I couldn't. I never felt like I belonged there. I never felt like it made any sense. I never connected with it all. I went through all of the motions, trying so hard. The last time I went to church, I actually had a major panic attack, and I haven't been back since. It just didn't resonate with me, and it wasn't where I belonged. And you know what? There's really nothing wrong with that. For years, I have battled with this inside of myself, thinking something was wrong with me because I never could feel what they did. I realized it's okay. I don't have to be in the club, and quite frankly, I really don't want to be. And I'm not here to disrupt other people's beliefs or to say that what they feel is wrong. I am only sharing my experiences because I know exactly what it feels like to be flailing around trying to grab onto something that makes sense and resonate. So if my perspective and my story helps someone, that is what I'm trying to do. I'm not bashing anyone's religion. We all have our own journey. We all have to come to our own truth in our own time. Now, another person asked, what does being a witch mean to me? So I answered that in this episode. If anybody has any other questions, though, I can totally follow up. And then another friend asked, what type of witch do I classify myself as? So modern times have given different titles to witches. There's kitchen witch, herb witch, sea witch, chaos witch, white witch, black witch, green witch, edge witch. You name it, and it is a category of a witch. To me, that is just modernized fun. I use energy and intentions in all aspects of my life. When things are chaotic, I've used that chaotic energy and directed it towards something calm and productive. When I'm cooking, gardening, foraging, anything I'm doing, I usually do tap into the energy and use intentions to make it a better experience. So I don't really put a label on what I'm doing. And then they also asked if I work with deities. I don't, but I do know a lot of people that do. I don't really have like a religion. I'm not Christian. I'm not Jewish. I'm not whatever. Like I don't really have a religion. So to say, I just believe in God, like the creator, like the higher energy, and I just believe that everything is just energy. Like I don't have a religion, so I don't have like different deities that I go to or whatever. I can go more into that in a different episode if anyone is interested. I just work with energy. So like I do believe in God. I do work with a higher, with the creator. I do tap into that. I just call it the higher power. I also work with different energy, like mermaid energy, dolphin energy, and dragon energy, because I just feel like there are different energies out there that we can tap into. And then I also work with my spirit guides. So I can talk about that in a different episode. Like I said, if anybody is interested, I don't know if anyone is actually interested in any of this. I'm not too sure. So yeah. And then what's the coolest thing I've ever experienced as a witch? So I've had a lot of interesting experiences over the years since I've fully embraced my spirituality. But I don't think that any of these experiences are directly because of the witch thing, but more of a spiritual thing. I worked at a crystal shop in Virginia. This is just an interesting story that popped in my head. And one time a 12-year-old and his mom came in. I remember it was so wild. Like, we were talking to them, and they were just normal, people. Like, you would not think anything, whatever. And the cash register, the wall clock, which ran off of a battery, like AA battery, and then the microwave, they all went out at the exact same time. Like, it was so weird. And then the mom, she said, oh, shoot. She's like, this happens at home, too. I'm really sorry. And then the child, I think he was like 12 years old. I mean, he said that he's been working with his own energy, and he said when he gets really excited or overwhelmed, which with a lot of crystals in the shop, I think it was the first time they had ever been into a crystal shop, it was just so much energy that he didn't know how to handle it. And so it just made all these things malfunction. It was so interesting. I probably wouldn't have believed that, like, if somebody told me about it, and had I not been there and just experienced it. So that was pretty wild. So I don't really know if anyone is really interested in all of these subjects, but if you are and you have other questions, you can ask me. You can always email ouruntamedroots@gmail.com or go to ouruntamedroots.com for all of our social media links and everything. You can reach out however you want to reach out. That's fine if you want to reach out anonymously and keep yourself anonymous, which I didn't name any names in this episode. But yeah, if you have questions, feel free to ask me. I can be a complete open book about it. I don't mind. I actually am really glad to be speaking my truth and talking out loud about this. It's something that I've been wanting to do for my own mental health and my own healing, is to fully stand in who I am. And so this is helping me do that. And I actually wasn't going to talk about this. It was a joke. When I did that poll on Facebook, I just put that as an option, like, why is she a witch, as a joke, and Dave didn't tell me to take it off, so I just left it on there. He's very, very supportive, by the way, so it wasn't like, he tries to control anything, but this is the first time in my life where I've actually had support from all angles, like, in my relationship, in my friendships, my family, I think is kind of open-minded to hearing my perspective. This is the first time that I've just had all-around support, and it means so much to be able to openly be myself without watering myself down, without feeling like I've got to be something that I'm not, without trying to people please. I just want to say that I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for an open community. I'm so grateful for healing. I'm so grateful for everything. So thank you so much for being here. Before I get all emotional, I really do appreciate you. And this is a brand new podcast, so if you would comment, give us feedback, leave reviews wherever you can leave reviews at, it would really, really help us. If you want to share it, that would be appreciated. We really want this to grow and be something successful. And if you want to help us do that, those are free ways that you can help. And thank you for being here. It means so much, and I truly, truly mean that. Anyways, whatever topics you want, shoot them at us, and we'll talk about it and get it out there. Thanks again.